time to get started on our final draft of our Dreamlands. So remember, a couple of reminders. You're gonna need some colored pencils. If you don't have colored pencil, regular pencil will work just fine. You can make an entire Dreamland out of regular pencil if that's all you have and it looks just as cool. If you do have colored pencil, here are some examples of dream worlds we might be able to create. This one was a beach, snow slopes, pizza house, lollipop forest, vegetable garden. It really was a ton of stuff in this Dreamland. This Dreamland was kind of like a cabin, a chocolate cabin next to a river and some mountains. This time I'm going to be making a Christmas Dreamland. So you can create whatever kind of Dreamland you would like to create. Whatever kind of Dreamland you create, remember our goal is I will be able to show space and depth in a landscape drawing by using size, overlapping, value, color, and detail. So remember, we learned these 4 techniques last week. If you didn't watch the video last week, you'll want to go back and learn these because I'm going to be talking about them a lot during the lesson. We also created a Dreamland web where we made our ideas. So my ideas are all for my Dreamland, which is my Christmas or I'll call it a winter world Dreamland. Yours might be something different. If you wanted to take my idea, that's okay. So, and then also we created a rough draft last time. So I created another rough draft that I'm gonna use. You're also gonna need a blank piece of paper today. So all of these other things we made last week, all you're gonna need today is a blank piece of paper. The first thing I want you to do is grab the lightest color pencil you have. And what we're gonna wanna do, as you'll notice in all these Dreamlands, there are hills or different areas where there are certain things. So here's another example. There's a hill or a piece of land in the front of this one. There's a river going through the back. There's also a hill in the middle, a hill back here, and a hill back here. These hills are so important because they show us, as we learned last week, we want to be able to show how things are farther away because that's going to make our drawing look really realistic, and we want to figure out how to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the hills I put in my rough draft. So it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you only need 3. If you want to do 3, that's okay. If you want to take a challenge and do 6 like me, you can do that too. I'm going to be very careful not to draw the lines over each other because we want to show our very first skill of overlapping. We want to show that something is in front of something else. So my first hill should be the one in front. I'm just going to draw one hill, and then the hill behind it is going to stop when I get there because it's going to be behind and I won't see the whole thing. My next hill is going to go up like that. I'm going to have one behind this one. That's going to be where we're going to do some sledding. And then there should be one like this, little rocky mountain, and one more tiny hill in the background. Okay, if you can't see it, that's okay. It's going to be very light. The reason we're drawing with our lightest color is because we want to be able to shade in. And if you make a mistake while you're doing your practice drawing and it's really light, that's going to be okay. You'll be able to color over it. So remember, you want to draw lightly. Even if you have a regular pencil, don't push too hard, draw lightly. The next thing we want to do is we want to map out our Dreamland. So we want to kind of gently draw in the things that we want. So I have a tree here, and in order to show size, something gets smaller in the background, I have a smaller tree here. So I'm going to go ahead and add those trees. I also realized that my tree is overlapping my gingerbread house here. So I'm going to make this tree just a tiny bit smaller because I want to be able to see that house. It's still going to be bigger than the tree in the background because I want to show size. But I also, oops, I messed up, but that's okay because I have my yellow color pencil. These drawings are not going to be perfect, and that's okay. It is really tricky to draw like certain objects and things. So we're just going to try our best. I have my really tiny tree in the back here. I'm showing size. So even with just my trees and my hills, I've already practiced overlapping and size. I'm also going to add in, I had a gingerbread house right here. Let's give him a little roof. And I'll add the details to my gingerbread house a little bit later, but I just want to know where it's going to be. Okay, and then I also want a tinier gingerbread house. Maybe my friend's house is way back here. I want to put that in so that I know where it's going to be. All right, I know I'm going to want some sledding here, and I want there to be a post that says sledding. So I'm going to put that post in now. I'm just gonna make a square. I'm not gonna write anything in there, but I know I'm gonna wanna write sledding, probably with another color. I am going to make a candy cane gumdrop forest right here. So gumdrops are these big candies that are shaped like an upside down U. So I'm gonna have candy cane gumdrop forest. So I'm gonna need another sign. Why don't I add it here? Okay. I also decided, I didn't have this in my rough draft, but I'm going to make an ice skating rink. This is going to be called the Snowman Ice Rink. And there's going to be snowmen skating on my ice rink. So I'm going to call that the Snowman Ice Rink. I'm going to have my sledders sledding down here. I decided I'm going to make a cinnamon hot chocolate tree that's shaped like a cinnamon stick. And it's going to, you can poke a little hole and hot cocoa will come out of the cinnamon stick tree, and maybe I'll have little marshmallows growing on there too. That would be kind of fun. Remember, your dreamland can be anything you dream it to be. So it doesn't have to be realistic. It can be totally fake. It should be something that makes you smile and is kind of different. Oh, I have another gingerbread house I was gonna make here. Maybe I have two friends living in my neighborhood. Maybe my mom is living in my neighborhood. I would love that. Okay, so there I have that mapped out. I'm still drawing lightly. I don't wanna mess anything up. Okay, I think I have a pretty good start. And if I wanna add anything else from my web and I'm out of ideas, I can always come back and look at my web where I had all of these ideas. But for now, I think I have a ton. So I'm ready to kind of move on to the next step. The next step, so step one was to plan and map lightly your hills. We didn't really practice our value, color, and detail yet because that's what's gonna happen when we shade. When you shade something in the front, it's going to have darker value. Value is the lightness or darkness of an object. So when something's really close to you, it's nice and dark or bright or clear. And when something gets faded in the back, it's really light and hard to see. So the way that you get something really bright up front is you push hard on the pencil. And the way that you get something faded in the back is you just kind of let the pencil drag a little bit in the background. You can still see the green, but it's a little bit lighter. And then detail, we haven't practiced this one yet either because your details won't come till the end. For example, a detail would be, maybe you can see on the tree different pine needles on this tree, but back here, it'll just look faded and you won't really see it. You might also see some ornaments on the tree up here, whereas in the tree in the back, maybe it just looks like little red dots. So that's the difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and start shading some of this and I'm gonna let you watch me do it and then I'll go into super speed and finish it up. But I want to start by drawing lightly with anything I do. So I'm gonna start by drawing the things in the front and I want you to think why. Why would I start by drawing on the things in the front? And I do want this tree to be nice and bright, but I'm gonna color it really lightly just in case. What if I decided at the last minute I wanted to add something right in front of the tree and I had already shaded it here? It's gonna be hard. So think about really quickly, why would I want to start shading in the front? The answer is because these objects are going to be in front of the objects behind them. So we need to know where they're going to be before we can add value to the objects behind. Drawing a tree is not that easy, but I'm trying my best. So what Miss Armstrong should have done actually is, and I'm gonna stop, I should have put the details or the ornaments of my tree on here first before I started coloring in my tree. Because if I color my whole tree green, it's going to be hard to see the little ornaments if they're different colors like yellow, orange. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pause because I did make a little mistake, and I'm going to go ahead and add. See, now it's hard to see my yellow ornament because he's covered in green, but that's okay. Remember, these are not going to be perfect. If your drawing doesn't look perfect, you probably are doing it correctly, because that means you're trying new things. It's not always going to work, but we're going to try it. Let me add some other little ornaments. So as I'm drawing, you can be drawing with me, adding things to your dreamland, or you can just be coming up with more ideas for your dreamland. It's up to you. So I'm going to keep going. So I'm adding details to the front of my tree. Maybe I'll shade this in a little bit. The last thing you're going to shade in is the hills. So you don't want to shade in the hills until you've added everything in the hills. Next, I'm going to call this, on this post is going to be my candy cane and gumdrop forest. So let's write that in. Candy cane and gumdrop forest. And I'm actually going to give this post some more, a little bit of shape. There we go. Maybe I'll even shade it in just a tiny bit. Okay, so there's my first sign. Woohoo! Now it's time to color in my gumdrops. So I know I'm gonna have them all different colors. Whoops, I'm a little too hard on my pencil. This is gonna be my purple gumdrop right in the front. I don't need to color all of them in yet because I wanna kind of figure out where they're gonna go. So I have a couple here, and as they go further into the back of my picture, are they going to get bigger or smaller? They're gonna get smaller because things that are further away from us are harder to see. So as these gumdrops get back into the forest, they're gonna become harder to see. I might even want some back here, but I'm not sure yet, so I don't want to color that in just yet. I'm gonna add a couple more gumdrops. It's behind this hill here where my ice skating rink is, so I don't want to add too much of my gumdrops there. Maybe I have a gumdrop behind this tree. Yeah, I can have different colors too. Let's see. Orange. Maybe one of my gumdrops is halfway behind my sign. I just know that they're supposed to get smaller as they go back in the distance. Okay, and then as I finalize that and I decide where they want to go, then I can start shading them in. Okay. I also need to add some candy canes because this is a candy cane and gumdrop forest. So my candy canes in the front are going to be what, big or small? Pretty big. Candy canes as they go back, medium sized. And then as they get back here, they're gonna be very teeny tiny. Okay, remember, you don't want to color anything in quite yet till you decide where everything goes. So now it's time for me to do my gingerbread house. Da-da-da-dum. So I'm going to start with my gingerbread door. I kind of want to have a little walkway coming from my door, but there is a star in the way. So I know my star is in front. So I have to be very careful not to color on top of my star because it's overlapping this pathway here. I'm gonna make some, maybe I'll do some graham cracker pathway to my gingerbread house. It's made out of graham crackers. And I know my pathway is gonna get smaller because as things get further away from us, they get smaller. So as it came closer to us, I made it a little bit bigger. So there's my pathway. I know I'm gonna want like icing, maybe some icicles dripping off of the edges of my tree or my gingerbread house. So I'm gonna have some icing. That might mean I want my roof to be blue, but maybe I want little candies or something stuck to the top of it. So I don't want to color anything in just yet. I'm gonna go ahead and plan that. Maybe I'll want some little icicles hanging from my gingerbread house over here. Ooh, I'm starting to like that. I hope you guys are adding some details onto your Dreamlands. Maybe I'll have two little windows here. Oops, I probably don't want them blue, but that's okay. I'm gonna draw it lightly. And yeah, that's pretty good. Maybe I'll want these in the background to be very similar, so I'll leave some space. All right, I'm going to do my ice skating rink. So I'm gonna call this my, oh, maybe I want penguins on my ice rink too. Let's see. Oh, I had a snowman ice rink, but maybe I want penguins on there too. So maybe I'll just call this the frozen ice rink. That way anybody can skate on it. And I'm gonna use all my cool colors because I know it's a frozen ice rink. So I'm gonna use, what colors are my cool colors? So black is one of them. If it's my frozen ice rink, I want it to feel really cold, I'm gonna use what colors? My cool colors are black. We also have blue. What else? What are my cool colors? Purple. So maybe I want to shade some of this ice rink in purple, and green is our other cool color. Oops, my orange colored pencil broke. That's okay. So I'm going to start adding the snowman on top before I shade it in. Oh no, and you know what I realized? I colored the edge of my ice rink so dark that there's going to be a blue line in the middle of my snowman. Whoops. Maybe the snowman will have to be blue. That's why we want to color really lightly in the background before we know what we want to do. So maybe the snowman will just have to have a blue face. That's all right. Maybe I'll do a snowman down here who can be, he can have a white snowy body. There we go. Okay. So, and then I can add, I didn't think about the penguins, but let's see if I can draw a penguin. Well, it's the best I can do for now. Little penguin. Okay. So I have my frozen ice rink. I know I'm gonna have some sledding here. So maybe I wanna think about some different sledding pathways I can have. Woo, there's one. Maybe there's one that goes back and forth this way. Woo. Okay, and I wanted to have a sign that says sledding at the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a sign that says sledding. Okay, so here's my sledding hill, and I think in my other picture, that was kind of creative, I did snowy slopes. I wish I had thought of that name before I wrote sledding, but that's okay. Snowy slopes would have been cool. So I hope you guys are coming up with some crafty names for your lands. Okay, whoops, I colored out the lines a little bit. Let's make sure we have good craftsmanship. Okay, and I want to build up my gingerbread house a little bit. As soon as you feel really good about this, then it's time to start shading in some items. So I don't actually feel really good yet about my land. I want to keep adding some things. So I forgot, I have these cinnamon stick hot cocoa trees, and they have little, I forgot, little marshmallows growing on them, so I don't want to accidentally color those in because marshmallows are white. And we can't really use a white color pencil. It doesn't erase the color, so you just have to use the white of the paper. So I have my cinnamon stick, and my cinnamon stick will have hot cocoa coming out of my hot cocoa tree. Cinnamon stick hot cocoa tree. Yum, yum, yum. This probably makes cinnamon hot cocoa. And there we go. So I might want to add some more of these in the background later, but this is my cinnamon hot cocoa tree where you can bring your mug. Maybe I'll have somebody holding a mug here that's getting filled with hot cocoa. See, so there's my hot cocoa. Okay, so once you feel like you have all of your details done, then it's okay to go in and start shading. I'm gonna go into super speed and start adding some of these details, finishing up my house, finishing up my ornaments on my tree, looking at my paper to see if there's anything I forgot. As you're drawing and you're adding your details and you're adding your signs and your little animals and whatever you want to add in your hills, you want to make sure that you are remembering our techniques, because the goal is that you will be able to show space and depth in a landscape drawing by using size, overlapping, value, color, and detail. So we want to be able to make our drawings realistic, and we want to show that there's space in our picture. We want to show that this tree is really far from this tree in our picture. So as you're finishing up your drawing, remember everything in the front is really bright and has lots of detail, and it's really big and it's in front of other things. As you get to the back, things start to get a little bit faded. So really bright in the front, and as things get far away, they're kind of hard to see. These palm trees up front, really easy to see. As the palm trees go way in the back, they just look like tiny little dots. So I'm gonna go into super speed so you can watch me finish my Dreamland. And once I'm done, you can go ahead and finish yours. Okay, so I've shaded in most of my Dreamland. I think the last thing I'm gonna do, and I added a ton. I added a snowman, I added some more gumdrops everywhere. I kind of turned into a gumdrop land. I added some crazy snowmen falling out of their sleds up there. And I think the last thing I want you to do is, once you think you're done with your picture, is to go back to the front and just add some more details. We really want to make sure that up close, there's tons and tons of details. So I'm gonna add some more pine needles into this tree. I'm gonna push a little bit harder on the pencil, try and get those dark marks, because when things are closer to us, it's easier to see the detail. And when they're farther from us, they're just gonna kind of fade into the background. Okay. So even though my Dreamland came out a little bit different than I had planned, that is totally fine. It almost always works out that way with my artwork, that it's not the way I planned it to be. I even made a few mistakes along the way. I had to have a blue snowman over here because I accidentally colored him in. I made my cinnamon hot chocolate tree really dark because I wanted to make sure that the things in the front had lots of value and color, and the things in the back were more faded. So as soon as you're done, I want you to remember our objective, or our goal for today, was that you'll be able to show space and depth in a landscape drawing by using size, overlapping, value and color, and detail. So before you say, I'm done, and you finish, I want you to go ahead and look at your drawing. I want you to look and see if you can find these 4 things in your drawing, not mine, but yours. So once you're finished with yours, and this took me a long time, almost an hour. So if you need to take a break before you finish yours, that's okay. But I want you to come back when you're done and I want you to say, did I do, and I already had a check mark because we did our rough draft drawings and I made sure I had these, but so let me circle these and let me choose a different color actually. I'll do check marks with blue. So do I have size in my picture? That means something in the front that's big and in the background it gets smaller. See if you can find something in my picture that's big and in the background it gets smaller. I found my tree is really big in the front and in the background it's really tiny. My gumdrops in the front are really big and then as they get in the background they're really tiny. They get smaller and smaller. And also the house, it's really big, medium, and small as it gets to the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a check mark. Next, overlapping. Do I have something that is in front of something else in my picture? So go ahead and take a look at my drawing, my landscape drawing. See if you can find something that is in front of something else in my picture. Yeah, one thing that really sticks out to Miss Armstrong here is I have this gumdrop behind my sign, but because the sign's in front of it, it makes the gumdrop look like it's behind it. So I'm gonna give myself a check mark. And if you also have something in your picture, give yourself a check mark. Next is value color. Is there more value in color in the front or in the back of my picture? What do you think? I think that there's things that are really, really bright in the front, like this tree and my gumdrops. And in the background, the gumdrops kind of get hard to see. There's even gumdrops way in the back next to this gingerbread house, but you can barely see those gumdrops. So again, I'm gonna give myself a check mark. If I didn't find anything, I would go ahead and add it. The last one is detail. Do I have things in my picture that have lots of detail when they're close and less detail when it's far? Do you see anything in my picture that has more detail in the front and less in the back? I notice here that my walkway has these little lines in it in the front, and these two walkways in the back, they get lighter in color. I might even want to add a little more value to my walkway in the front because it should be brighter than the walkway in the back. So it should be brighter up here than it is back here. So now that I added these extra details on the front of the house and the walkway, and there are no details back here, I gave myself a check mark for this one, for detail. That is all we're going to do today. Today you were able to show space and depth in a landscape drawing by using size, overlapping, value, color, and detail. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. I love these Dreamland drawings and I cannot wait for you to take a picture and upload it on Google Classroom so I can see what you've created. I will see you guys next week. Bye.